March is here, fellow witches and warlocks, and that means it's only 1 month away until the chilling adventures of Sabrina is back, and we can finally continue down that path of night. So what can we expect from the upcoming season? And yes, I know it's technically part 2, but it gets confusing, so whatever. The showrunners have been pretty tight-lipped, but I've got a few leads that you're not going to want to miss. Now, if you haven't checked out part 1, the rest of this video will contain spoilers, so be warned. And if you'd like a refresher, you can check out my breakdown videos for the entire first season, as well as the teaser breakdown for part 2. First of all, we can speculate that the events of season 2 take place shortly after the ending of season 1. Susie, Roz, Harvey, and the gang are still attending Baxter High. And take a look at this interview Kiernan Shipka did with Bloody Disgusting back in October. I would just say that, without giving too much away, because it would be a bit of a spoiler, the way that Sabrina's life takes certain turns and certain decisions she makes inform the second season. The finale of the first season sets up a lot. At the end of part 1, you'll remember that in order to save her mortal friends, Sabrina signs the Book of the Beast and becomes a full-blown witch. The show establishes early on that once this happens, Sabrina will have to sever ties with the mortal world, including her best friends Roz, Susie, and boyfriend Harvey Kinkle. But throughout season 1, Sabrina is determined to find a way to walk both the path of night and the path of light, to be both mortal and a witch. With the signing of the Book of the Beast, however, you might think Sabrina's been forced to put her mortal life behind her. Well, not so fast. We obviously know that Sabrina's mortal friends are still included in part 2, based off the teaser, but take a look at this Instagram post from Michelle Gomez, aka our very own Madame Satan. It's one of the few Instagram posts from a cast member that actually shows an image from season 2, and I'm getting huge school play vibes here. Seems like something that's more likely to be taking place at Baxter High as opposed to the Academy of Unseen Arts, especially with Mrs. Wardwell, who, despite her title as Mother of Demons, still teaches at Baxter High, so expect to see Sabrina still spending tons of time in the mortal world. Which also makes sense considering Hilda and her budding relationship with Dr. Cerberus, who everyone assumes is immortal. Which reminds me, werewolves.
It's a good segue.
In my teaser breakdown video in Season 1 Ending Explained, I speculated that Dr. Cerberus is actually a werewolf. We got that image of his crazy eyes at the end of the season, as well as a glimpse of a werewolf and Sabrina clad in her best Little Red Riding Hood cosplay. Not to mention there's also a shot of a full moon, so it wouldn't be too far of a reach to expect werewolves on the prowl in part 2. And it appears that Hilda is not the only one getting a new beau this season. We've learned of at least 2 new additions to the cast, including Alexis Denisof, who you might remember from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Angel, or as Sandy Rivers from How I Met Your Mother.
Looks interesting.
Next season, he'll be playing Adam Masters, a doctor who returns to Greendale to find that his fiancée Mary Wardwell, yes, that Mrs. Wardwell, is not quite the same person she used to be. The other addition is Jedediah Goodacre, who will be playing a warlock named Dorian Gray, an enigmatic gentleman of an indeterminate age who owns a nightclub. Perhaps the nightclub scene here? Of note is the name Dorian Gray, which is based off the Oscar Wilde novel The Picture of Dorian Gray. Dorian, the character, is the epitome of beauty, youth, and sensuality, so much so that an artist becomes infatuated and paints him. Dorian, ever obsessed with maintaining his youth and beauty, sells his soul so that the picture, and not he, will age. I imagine the Dorian Gray from Sabrina will follow a similar kind of storyline. The final clue we have for Season 2 lies in the comic book adaptations of Sabrina. Now, we can't expect to see everything from the comics appear on the show, as we know the Netflix adaptation has strayed quite far from its comic book inspiration. For example, in part 1 of the comic, Harvey Kinkle gets eaten by witches. Part 2 of the comic, which I will add isn't complete yet, revolves around the mysterious return of Edward Spellman, who wonders who could have possibly helped Sabrina become such a powerful witch, aka Mrs. Wardwell. My speculation is that just like with the resurrection of Harvey and Tommy Kinkle, the show will take from the comic, but not exactly. Now, it's possible that Papa Spellman could resurface soon, but my theory is that the Edward Spellman character from the comic will actually be mirrored in the show with Adam Masters. Masters, realizing that his fiancée is a little more demonic than usual, will set in course a series of events that leads to the exposure of who Mrs. Wardwell actually is. So that's my big speculation for Season 2. that by the end of the season, Sabrina will finally find out what Mrs. Wardwell's been hiding from her. Oh, and one last thing, for all you wondering if we'll ever hear Salem speak again, there's hope yet. According to an article from IndieWire, show creator Roberto Aguirre-Sacasa said, "When we did the show, he doesn't speak, partly to project the horror tone. That isn't to say that Salem won't talk in the future." He also states, "We've definitely talked about doing a Salem-centric episode where we could learn more about his life. Considering how we saw Stolas speak at the end of Season 1, I'd say there's a good reason to believe our little feline friend might be chatting sooner rather than later." So that's it for this video. I'm super excited to check out what Season 2 of Sabrina has in store for us in just a month. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and subscribe, and be sure to keep your eyes peeled as I'll be making an ending explained video on Season 2 when it comes out. And remember, Daddy loves you very much.